Hello, welcome. You are watching Vedgecation with your absolute favorite hostesses, Britt.
And your host that doesn't have to say too much because I let my words speak for myself, Leah.
Well, most people let their words speak for them. Otherwise, how else would they speak, Leah?
I don't know what this is right now, but we're going to move on to the topic of the day, okay?
You don't want me to roast you?
No.
Okay. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
And I love intuitive eating.
I love intuitive eating.
I'm just kidding. I don't know what intuitive eating is.
I kind of figured that.
But I'm hoping you can teach me.
But you are an intuitive eater.
I'm an intuitive spirit.
Also that.
And soul.
Yes. So what do you know about intuitive eating?
Well, let me tell you what I think about intuitive eating.
Okay.
I think it is you follow your intuition and you eat where it leads you.
That's kind of true.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not too far off.
Okay.
So a lot of people want to move over into the intuitive space because they've been following what's called like their macros, right? So maybe you've seen someone who's done like a bodybuilding show, you know, they've been closely tracking and losing weight for a really long time and they're like, I'm going crazy. I'm tired of sticking between 2,000 calories. I'm tired of counting my protein, my fat, and my carbohydrates. How do I switch from being super structured over into having a more relaxed approach to food? And I think because we live in this world, everyone is like less, right? So we go into restrict, which is why, you know, when I was working in what I would call the weight loss space, and I was working with people on certain plans to achieve weight loss, what would happen is we'd put them on macros. They'd lose weight with us for like 16 weeks. And then what they would do is they would leave, freak out that they're gonna regain all the weight, stop eating again, and then gain it all back.
So the exact opposite of what they were going for.
Correct.
Interesting how that works.
Which is why I firmly believe that diets do not work.
Yeah.
And the longer that we diet, it affects our stomach acid levels in our body. It's going to affect, you know, your overall confidence because there's very different people in the world. Like, I would say you are a person who thrives off smaller portions of food.
Yes.
You definitely eat less. I am a person who eats a lot of food, but my activity level is also extremely high.
If I was more active, I would probably eat more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, as women, I think it's sometimes really hard if you're eating the most in the room. Luckily, I'm married to my husband and...
Never will happen.
Well, no, I usually just eat the same as him. So it looks... I don't know if it looks better, but in my head, I'm like, well, I'm just matching his energy. But yeah, I am eating a lot of food. But I think I have to give women, especially women who have more of an appetite, like permission.
Yeah.
It's okay that you eat more than your friends. I remember sitting at a dinner of 4 girlfriends one time. I was on a trip, and all of them are like, do you want to split a meal? And I'm like, no. Do you guys want to split like an appetizer and this? And I'm like,
I want my own food.
Yeah. I'm like,
that was us last night.
It was.
I'm like, do you want to split it? And you were like, no.
No.
So we compromised.
Yeah, we got 2 appetizers.
And 1 meal that
but
you ate most
But she had like 1 bite of the meal and I had like the rest.
It was really spicy. It was good.
It was so good though.
But it burned my roof of my mouth and all of my taste buds and my teeth. I've never had my teeth burned by food before. It was fun.
Yeah. So, okay, moving into intuitive eating.
Yes.
Number 1, it's scary.
Yes.
Number 2, it affects your confidence because if you've been tracking your food for years and years and years, like I think of someone who's been on Weight Watchers, right? And they're like counting points, and this is 0 points, and this is 7 points, and if I get overall this many points, they kind of freak out internally. So first thing is believing that you can absolutely do it, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about belief on another episode, but you know, understanding that our bodies are very smart, super, super smart, smarter than we could ever imagine. You know, your car, let's say if you're driving your car, right? Does it tell you when the oil's out?
Yes.
Now it does. Back in the day,
it didn't.
It sure did not.
Like the Model T, they just had to figure it out. Like, oh, the car's not starting.
Yeah, there was no flashing lights. It just died, and they were like, well, let me take it somewhere and take my horse.
I was born in the right era.
Yes.
For sure.
But if you think about it, you know, the body kind of does that. Because do you ever wake up and you're like, I have a craving for X today? Like, I have a craving for a banana.
Yes.
So we automatically take it to a bad realm because a lot of people are like, I'm craving donuts, I'm craving pizza. But we also do, all of us, I don't care how bad your food habits are, we still wake up sometimes craving beans or craving celery. And I do firmly believe that is your body saying, I want this nutrient, I want that nutrient. Where it gets out of hand and people lose trust with themselves is number one, if they are a binge eater, which in my opinion, there's one of two things that can happen in that space.
Yeah.
The first thing is they essentially are eating their feelings. So they are just eating to respond to a stressful scenario that happened in their lifetime that they haven't dealt with. The other thing is the microbiome. So if they're dealing with candida, if they're dealing with small intestinal overgrowth, if they're dealing with a Clostridia bacteria,
that craving is going to be probably for stuff that they shouldn't have.
Any of my clients with candida will say, I can open a box of Oreos or a box of cookies or whatever, and I can eat the whole thing and still feel like I'm not done.
Yeah.
But then as we start to do gut work, they're like, I had 2 cookies today and it was good. Like I didn't feel the need to eat the entire rest of the box.
So connection between trauma, stress response, and food addiction.
Food addiction, gut health. Yeah, it is all intertwined.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think it's empowering to people to know, okay, there could be a reason behind why I can't stop snacking at night or why I never reach that level of satiation or fullness. But we're gonna give you some more tips on intuitive eating in just a minute, so stay with us. We're gonna be right back with more Vedgecation.
My eyeball.
Bring us back in, Chachki. Your eyeballs look like they're doing Kegels.
You saw?
Yes.
I was trying to get my
Now I'm doing Kegels.
contact
Just
right.
to match their energy.
Welcome back. Your body gave you an intuition that you needed to stick around and watch a little bit more of Vedgecation.
Yes.
Your body was right. Thank you.
Okay, so we're talking about intuitive eating today.
Yes.
How do you start, you know, in our last segment, we were talking through just some of the obstacles and how people get to a place where they're terrified to intuitively eat. When we're babies, when we're little, right? Like we are listening to the hunger cues. They're learning to get in touch with their body. And then as we get older, that's when someone inherently says to us, you're not good enough, or you're fat, or your body should look different. So first and foremost, your body should look the way that it looks. Let's start there.
Preach.
Yeah, that does not mean that we can't want to
Take better care of ourselves.
take better care of ourselves. That does not mean that we can't change the shape of it a little bit, like do a little sculpting with some weight training and things. But overall, we're supposed to be improving the health, not punishing our body because it doesn't look the way that we want it to.
Yeah.
So I like to start with calculating a basal metabolic rate with someone. Even though you're like, Coach Leah, we're trying to get away from tracking, right?
Yeah.
Well, we still have to know, where are we looking?
Yeah, we got to establish a benchmark, get us a foundation so we can understand, like, where do we want to be? Where do we need to be?
Yeah, so what I want that client to do for like the first 5 days is go, let's say it's 1,500, right? Let's say we decide your BMR is 1,500, so we need minimum 1,500 calories, more if we're exercising.
Yep.
So you, for the next 5 days, we're gonna put together different meals that calculate 1,500. So you start to get a visual of like, what's a good full day of eating look like for the size of my body and the activity that I take in.
Yeah.
And for most people, they're like, that's a lot of food.
Yeah.
And specifically if you're plant-based, it's a lot of food.
Yeah.
And then they realize just how much under eating they've been doing or possibly overeating. You know, you don't know. It can be different.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you are helping someone and empowering them to trust their intuition and to kind of go towards the food that their body is craving. What about people whose body is like, I gotta go to McDonald's and I gotta do it every day and I gotta order $30 worth of food, otherwise I'll be sad?
Well, there's definitely, okay, first and foremost, if your body, again, is telling you to eat these truly unhealthy things every single day, I look at the gut first. And if someone comes to me and they're having binge eating or portion control issues, we test the gut first.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bacteria or an overgrowth working against you, when I tell you you will never win, you will never win. 100%. I don't care how dedicated you are. I feel like I'm one of the most disciplined people ever. You know this.
Truth.
I could not beat my Candida. My Candida was like, girl, you need a Snickers. And a vegan Snickers. But it was sugar, 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 sugar.
Yeah.
Now I can eat sugar and I don't feel like I need 74 more grams of it.
Yeah, I feel like when you were in the midst of the mold toxicity fight, like you stayed away from sugar.
Yep.
But I did not know at the time it was because you were you were trying to stay away from the cravings of it.
Yeah,
Because
well,
of the...
and trying to kill the yeast.
Yeah.
The only way we can do it is we can kill, yeast and fungal overgrowth with antibiotics, antifungals, but also starving it.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want to be giving it any more ammunition to continue growing.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew.
So, okay, as we're talking about intuitive eating, I kind of want to understand like how you feel about snacking, number one, and then how can you tell if your body is saying, I'm craving this because I'm hungry, or I'm bored and I just want a snack to have my mouth do something?
I think that, okay, so first and foremost, I think that I like using, I cannot remember which nutritionist told me about this rule, but it's the celery.
Celery?
It's the celery rule.
Most people say celery, so just,
I don't know.
you mean celery. She means celery, folks.
Or
Or celery.
Celery.
Learn something new every day.
Celery. However you say it, we do not discriminate here at Vedgecation. You can call your vegetables with all their syllables or without syllables. Again, we don't mind.
But the celery rule.
But the celery rule. So if someone says to me, I'm hungry, first of all, I'm like, okay, are you hungry or are you thirsty? That could be. A lot of us are drinking, but are we drinking water and getting enough electrolytes? That's a completely different thing that we'll probably have to talk about on another episode. But if you're not hungry enough to eat plain celery out of a bag,
no ranch, no peanut butter, no nothing.
nope, you're not hungry.
It just sounds so dry.
It does. But if you use that as your benchmark, you're never going to be eating out of boredom. And I'm not saying that celery actually has to be the snack. What I'm saying is if you think in your brain, if I'm not hungry enough to eat raw vegetables, am I actually hungry? And then the other thing what obsessive snacking does, it can really mess with your body's ability to produce quality stomach acid. Because every time we eat, our stomach acid has to work to break down the food. So if we're constantly doing that, it's not going to be as strong. It's not going to be as acidic. And so the other thing that it does is it's going to dilute your hunger cues because you're going to be constantly eating throughout the day. So then people are like, oh, I'm hungry, or, if I just haven't eaten in an hour and a half and I feel like doing that.
Yeah.
So again, I love the idea of eating a huge breakfast specifically for women, specifically with a lot of protein, then eating a moderately very big
Breakfast with a lot of protein. I
like
feel like
40
that
grams.
very rarely happens.
Really?
Well, for me. I didn't know protein was such a big
Again,
need for the morning.
in the vegan world is a controversial topic that you need protein.
Yeah.
But from a hormonal standpoint, from a cortisol spiking standpoint, from everything that I've learned with working with women, I love, if you can do a good tofu scramble with a better bagel for breakfast, you are going to be solid, moving, full throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then again, a hearty, bigger lunch, and then you can have soup for dinner. Sometimes I have a really good, lentil, healthy Raisin Bran crunchy cereal for dinner because you don't need that much food to then go to bed.
Yeah, because then you want your body to rest and not be working overtime to digest the heaviness of what you just ate.
All right, so we're going to talk about the principles of intuitive eating when we come back, so stay tuned. Reject the diet mentality, honor your hunger, make peace with food.
Reject the diamond?
Let's be clear, I would never say reject the diamond.
What is
Reject the diet mentality.
Oh, diet mentality.
You just missed all the words.
What? Thank you for following your heart and your intuition. Shout out to Shakira, right?
I have no idea.
You're still watching Vedgecation, and we are closing out the topic of intuitive eating. And Leia is going to give us some of her favorite principles of intuitive eating. And I'm going to listen like the good student I am.
Okay, so first things first, I want you guys to reject the diet mentality. So when you finally say no to diets, it's tough. I mean, it's probably been 4 years for me since I really said I'm done. I'm not dieting anymore. I refused. And there's still times when I come back from a vacation or when it's after the holidays and I'm like,
must
really want to diet.
Yeah.
But no, it's it. You got to get rid of it forever because you will get back into that circle. And for those of you who are a little obsessive compulsive like yourself and myself,
it could get bad.
Ugly.
Yes.
Okay, so honoring your hunger, figuring out if your hunger cues have gone away. Could that be a symptom of high cortisol, low cortisol? Working with someone through this process, whether it be a coach, nutritionist, that is going to be key to you being successful and having that support system that you really, really need. One of my favorite tips, though, is stop drinking things while you're eating. It's going to dilute your stomach acid. It is going to mess with your hunger cues. Stop drinking. Save your drinking water before you eat, and then drink your water 30 minutes after you eat.
That tip is one of my favorites
Yay.
because Oprah has this infamous saying, embrace your hunger. She probably said it like 15 years ago, but it's stuck with me for 15 years because I still, when I feel like I'm hungry, whether it's like I just ate or I'm like, I'm not sure, I'm like, do I need to embrace my hunger right now? And that just means like, just because you feel hungry doesn't mean you're supposed to eat. So
Correct.
I like it.
And, you know, the third one, make peace with food. Like that is something that so many people, they just have this tumultuous relationship with food. It's kind of like when we talk about money, people are mad at money. People are mad at food because they think that it is making them fat and sick and unhealthy. And so,
or it's supposed to be the medicine to all their life's problems. You just eat, it just goes away.
Yeah, figuring out where your food issues started. Challenge the food police. You know, if you're sitting at a dinner, right? We just talked about this. If I'm sitting at the dinner and chances are I'm eating the biggest meal of everyone at the dinner, if somebody says something about my portion of food, you say something right back. You said, Coach Leah said that I might be hungrier than you. And I am. Yeah.
I love it.
And then last one, you know, I think that moving your body after you eat can be the most beneficial thing you ever did. So take a walk after dinner, take a walk after lunch if you can, take a walk after breakfast if you can.
What about jump in the pool? Because remember when we were younger, we were told.
I hate that
you
rule.
can't. But every kid was told that, right? You got to wait 30 minutes. You can't get in the pool. You just ate.
Yeah. I don't know. Come for me, swimming police. I don't really know. I say move. I say move.
Okay. Well, now we're going to get into something that we both personally find kind of funny.
I don't know if it's funny. I kind of want to fight these people a little bit.
It's a little interesting.
It's fine.
So maybe you all know someone who's like, I used to be vegan. I stopped being vegan. All my problems went away.
The problem is it is completely acceptable, right? We tell you this all the time in Vedgecation. It is completely acceptable to stop being vegan. It is. You can quit. You can decide this is not the lifestyle for you.
We are not here to judge you or force you.
Correct.
To eat what we want you to eat.
But you cannot blame all of your health issues on being vegan.
Facts.
Because there are so many components that go into not being successful as a plant-based person. Part of it is knowledge. Did you hire someone to help you? This is not an easy lifestyle to transition to right out the jump.
Yeah.
Were you having gut issues to where you were not getting all of the nutrients from the food that you were eating? Were you eating enough calories? How was your support system at home? All of these things feed into being able to stay vegan, but it's not, we just have to take responsibility that it's not the food choices, right? Like all vegans are not created equal. You can be a whole foods plant-based vegan, healthiest vegan on the planet. You can also go into the store and buy every package that says vegan on it. You're not going to have the same outcome.
Or you can be whole, raw, eating all the best things, doing all the best exercise, had your gut checked all the boxes, and you could be the moldiest person in the room.
And still sick as a dog.
And yep.
So, you know, we're going to talk about on another episode kind of my top 10 pillars of health and what I believe. And what I used to believe is that food was at the top of that list, right? Like food was so important. And what I now believe is, well, you're just going to have to watch the episode to find out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think that I'm so tired of people blaming plant-based versus taking accountability for their actions and maybe admitting, I went into this with my eyes closed. I went into this and thought I knew what I was doing was right. And at the end of the day, I maybe didn't.
Yeah.
because I do think, yeah, there's more factors at play.
Absolutely. Being a vegan is not a one-size-fits-all solution, nor is anything.
Yeah, and I think the reason I went vegan, right, is because I was like, I want my face to look good till I'm 80. The reason I stay vegan now is because of the animals.
And that's so true. Like, you have to almost take a step back and ask yourself, because anything that you do that is worth anything at all, there's going to be challenges. A lot of times it's going to be easier to quit than it is to like keep pushing forward. So you always have to step back and reflect on like, what is my why? Why am I doing this? And if it's really easy to quit and the why is maybe not as strong, then maybe you reassess, you know, like, what is in it for you and what do you want to get out of it? And maybe that's the driving factor that pushes you towards, you know, trucking forward when it gets hard.
Yeah, and we are not naive at Vedgecation. We know this is not the most convenient, easiest lifestyle out there, but I promise you, in my opinion, it is the most loving, it is the most compassionate, and I've met the most incredible people. And by the way, I get to look at every animal and be like, hey girl, I don't eat you.
We're about to close out this episode, but Leia, you look so hot right now. I feel like you might have a hot tip or two up your sleeve, a hot health tip.
One. Anybody in the room love broccoli?
I do.
Probably not as much as you do. It's not my favorite vegetable, but I eat it because it's really good.
Good for you too.
Super good for you. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a tip that is going to help you consume more of the benefits of broccoli. So there was a small trial that finds that when people eat cooked broccoli with 1 gram of powdered mustard seed, the bioavailability of sulforaphane is increased more than 4-fold compared to eating cooked broccoli alone.
I'm going to need that bioavailability and that sulforaphane up in me.
Yeah, and most people are like, okay,
what does that mean?
Why do I care? Why do I need this? So it is because cooking broccoli inactivates the enzyme called myrosinase that converts glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. Lord help me, I'm not a scientist or whatever it is that you need to know those words.
Biologist, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the mustard seed powder provides a viable source of the enzyme myrosinase.
We're going to spell it out for you, folks, because we have a hard time saying long words.
You want to try it?
Myrosinase. Mayonnaise.
Myrosinase that can be sprinkled on top of the broccoli after it is cooked.
It's a digestive enzyme. Whatever this thing is that we're trying to say.
No.
What is it? What kind of enzyme is it?
What it is doing, so you want to sprinkle the mustard seed on the cooked broccoli after, because when you're cooking the broccoli, it is destroying those enzymes that are the really big cancer-fighting enzymes.
Oh, and so
we
this
want to
puts it
back into the broccoli.
Oh.
Yes. So you do want to let it sit there for a little bit before you eat it, but that's how you're going to get the most benefit. You know, it's tough to know all of those things out there as far as cooking and frying and, you know, air frying, whatever you're doing when you're preparing your food. But we have to think of how many of those enzymes are being damaged.
Yeah.
So the one positive thing, right, about being raw vegan is you're not destroying the enzymes.
Yeah.
So you are getting more of the benefit of your food.
So long story short, if you are eating raw broccoli, you're
good.
getting all of that benefit.
Correct.
When you cook the broccoli,
Correct.
the hot health tip of sprinkling a little bit of mustard seed on it brings back some of those nutritious enzymes that you would get if you ate it in raw form.
100%.
Y'all, I passed a pop quiz. Congratulations
Add
to me.
mustard seed to broccoli, the end, unless you're eating it raw. But if you were cooking it, yes, so you can add that back in.
Does that happen with any other vegetables, or is it mostly just broccoli?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I feel like that would be definitely another hot health tip. So we're not going to go into any other
just focus on the broccoli for the day.
Focus on the broccoli. We don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to overwhelm you. Focus on your broccoli. Focus on your intuition. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we talked about today was really around trusting your body, trusting your gut, metaphorically and literally.
Trusting your gut and recognizing when it is leading you astray, like eating 74 cookies in one time.
Correct.
Yeah. Trust it enough to know to call someone to help you out with that.
Well, it was a bumpy ride, folks, and toward the end, it got a little
I mean,
difficult.
we can read. It just sometimes is difficult.
For the most part, we think we've got you Vedgecated.
But if you want people that can say hard words, Vedgecation is not the show for you. We'll see you next time. We love you so much.